Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video. So, I realised that tier lists, they quite a trending thing. I'm desperate for views. So I figured I'd do a tier list myself. Yeah, isn't that wonderful? So we're gonna do a tier list of the Star Wars films. Obviously, I've seen all of them. I've seen all of them more than once, so I have a pretty good grasp of things. I have a pretty clear idea. So yeah, we're just gonna choose where to put them. I think you all understand how this works. So first one, episode one, The Phantom Menace. Obviously, this came out in 1999. And it is the beginning of the saga. You have young Anakin, who is the chosen one. Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan. They go off. They meet him. Bring him back to Yoda. But meanwhile, there's a problem going on with the Senate. And there's a peace treaty, and the plot is incredibly boring. I'm going to be honest. So there's a couple of issues with this film, obviously. CGI, it's not great. It's pretty low quality. It's really dated now, and it really does hold the film back. But there are enough practical sets, and this was filmed using film. But the plot overall is just quite dull and especially bearing in mind this is catering towards kids. Why would you do a film about politics and peace treaties? How? So I don't really know what George Lucas was thinking, but I actually think that the concept, the design of everything, is is pretty good. I like the look of Naboo. I like all of that stuff. The scene with Darth Maul, that is, in my opinion, the best lightsaber fight in the entire trilogy. Not trilogy, saga. What am I saying? The entire saga. I love that lightsaber fight to death. I think it's so good. It's well paced. It doesn't go on too long. It works. So we are gonna take episode one and where do I put it? I don't think it's quite D. Obviously, it has got Jar Jar Binks in it, which everyone hates. He never bothered me too much though. So where do I put it? B, C. I think it's between B and C. It's definitely not an A rank. Oh, this is a tough one. I think I think it's got enough good to outweigh it, so I'll put it in B for the meantime. I don't know. I'm very undecided about my views on the prequel trilogy. It's very hard to rewatch, though. I will say that. Usually, I just give in and go online and rewatch the lightsaber fight, and that's about it. So yeah, I'll go with B. Next up, Attack the Clones, 2002. So obviously, episode one was a humongous disappointment. So episode two had a lot to. It needed to try and pull back the fans, and it didn't. So it kind of failed. Episode two is one of my least favourite in the entire franchise. I hate it. I think it's boring. I think the acting is bad. I think it's poorly written. The CGI is considerably worse than in episode 1 because it's so much more reliant on it. It's shot with early digital camera work and it just doesn't look as nice because at least the first one was shot with film. It's a very rough film to watch. What good did it have going for it? Um, I do like that they do start to show Anakin's descent. They sort of hint at his descent into the dark side, don't they? It's kind of a weird one. but it's just a very rough film. I think Jango Fett is a cool character. I don't like him as much as Boba, but he is a very cool character. Mace Windu gets to shine in this one. That was cool. That entire fight actually is awesome. That end scene is really, really good. I do have to give props to that. That was a good part. Count Dooku's introduced. He's quite a cool character. Obviously, you do have the fight between Yoda and Count Dooku, which looks kind of rough because, again, it's early CGI. It's a tough one. It's a tough one. It's definitely not going as high as Phantom Menace because I think it's worse. So it's between C and D, but where to put it? I don't know. It's a hard one. I think I do have to give props to George Lucas for trying something different at least with this one. Just, I'm very, very undecided. I love Obi-Wan in it. He's still good. Um, we'll go with C for the meantime. I don't want to make people too angry this early on. Revenge of the Sith, the film that George Lucas clearly intended to make, but felt it necessary to make this into an entire trilogy. Revenge of the Sith, I think, is a legitimately good film in the franchise. I think at this point the CGI was good enough. It was definitely better than the first two. Like, if you look at Yoda in comparison, he looks good. He looks decent. Um, the whole stuff, but I think Hayden Christensen is the best in this one by far. I actually think he had quite a time to shine. Seeing Darth Vader, seeing him being suited up, that's an awesome scene. Everyone loves that scene. You do obviously have the infamous no, but that never bothered me quite as much as it does other people. And it is a properly dark film. It does show off the dark storyline. People really love the fight at the end. I think it goes on a bit too long, and I think it's a bit too over the top. So that's my criticism. It probably could have shown off more of the actual Clone War. But, no, you know what? I think when it comes to Revenge of the Sith, I think this earns a solid A rank. It's not an S rank film. I don't view it that way, but I will put it in A. I think it earns an A. It's just obviously it's still got a couple of issues. Like, it's still a bit reliant on CGI for my liking. See, but that's just a visual. I think the story is pretty good, but you know, it's it's a solid film, but it has obviously got its issues, and that's why it's not in S. Now, now it gets tough. So, where am I gonna go? I think I'm. Chronologic. It should be Solo next, shouldn't it? Solo. Okay. Right, Solo. Where do I put Solo? I like Solo. I actually think it's a much better film than people give it credit for. But it's got problems. And I'm not against seeing that. So I think the writing for the film was solid. I think the acting is fairly decent throughout. It's about as good as you could hope for. Um, Obviously, there is an issue with people not think, and I kind of agree with it. It is a struggle to see the guy who plays. So I don't know his name. I'll try and put it up. There is a struggle with seeing him in the role that Harrison Ford played. It's kind of hard not to associate it with Harrison Ford. So that is a problem. And I guess it could, but the visuals in it are incredible. It's a gorgeous looking film. I cannot stress that enough. Where do I put it? And I really love seeing the bond between Solo and Chewbacca form. I think that's awesome. I think it's going to go in B. I don't know if I'm going to put it above or behind. Man. Hmm. I think I'm going to put it there. It's just below episode 1, and that's just because I think episode 1 did do some interesting ideas, and I'm giving it credit for that. But I think Solo is a much more enjoyable film for most people. But I get why people don't like it. I'm not beyond that. Okay, next chronologically is Rogue One. I love Rogue One. I think it's a really solid installment in the franchise. It works. The acting is all really good. It's really well paced, and visually it's stunning. I don't know if I've already. I don't think I have already said that. I think the story it was telling was very important in the Star Wars universe, and this was a good fit. Bearing in mind we'd gone from the Force Awakens to this. This was incredible. I love Rogue One. I think it's great. Question though, is it S rank or? I'm gonna put it in A, but I'm gonna put it above Episode 3. I think it earns that place quite rightfully. I think it's a really solid film. I love it. It's so good. Okay, next is Episode 4, A New Hope, or Star Wars as I call it. So yeah, this is obviously now we're in the creme de la creme of Star Wars films. What haven't I already said about Star Wars? It's an amazing film, right? It combines a multitude of genres. It's well paced, it's got a good level of comedy, visual effects are incredible. The acting is all really good. I've heard criticism from some critics about Mark Hamill's acting. I'm ignoring it. I think Mark Hamill is great in this film. And Luke is a character who I love in the franchise. Like, he's so good. And obviously, it's got Alec Guinness as Obi-Wan. So you can't get better than that. And it's my favourite. It always has been. It always will be. It introduced us to Darth Vader. I mean, come on. It's the OG. It's the GOAT of the franchise. It's great. I love it. It's a solid S rank. That's where it's going. That's where it's staying. Next, we have Empire Strikes Back. So, a lot of people say this is their favourite, and I can see why. This is the only one I've actually seen on a big screen, and these films are so good on the big screen. If you ever get the opportunity to see it on a big screen, take it. It's so much better. So this took the story in a really interesting direction, unveiling that Darth Vader was Luke Skywalker's father. Come on, it doesn't get much better than that. This film is amazing. Visual effects are incredible. They're actually better than the first one. And it's shot really well, great cinematography. It's well paced, it never gets boring, and it's got a good level of comedy. And obviously, it's got the romance between Han Solo and Leia, one of the most famous romances in films. And it's just done really well. It doesn't feel forced or anything. The entire film moves so well. And it introduced us to Yoda. Yoda, one of the greatest characters of all time. So, it's going in S, but because of my own personal preference, it's going just behind the original Star Wars. Next is Return of the Jedi. Where to put this? So, Return of the Jedi, I used to say this was my favourite. I haven't said it was my favourite for a while. But I love this film. I love the Ewoks. Some people hate them. I think they're amazing. I love them. But visual effects wise and cinematography wise, it's slightly worse than the previous two. And I'm not really sure why that is, but there's a lot more obvious green screen and general stuff. But it finished the franchise, it finished the original trilogy. It's the true end to the saga. It's it's a really good film, and you can't change that fact. I love what it did. Did it cater towards children? Yeah, maybe. A lot of people criticize Slave Leia. I think it's fine because of it's a very important scene to show who Jabba the Hutt is. So I don't have a problem with it. It's not portraying that as being a good thing. So I think it's a very solid film. I'm gonna put it in A, and I'm gonna put it above Rogue One. That is honestly, that's how I would put. Those are my top films of the franchise. Now, next we have Star Wars: The Force Awakens, 2015. I'm really not a fan of this film. I wasn't a huge fan of it when I first went to see it. So I'm obviously, it's not going to get better the more and more I watch it. I really hate it. It does nothing original. It's literally the original Star Wars film, but just made with new people. Rey as an entire character is stupid. She does absolutely nothing, but suddenly she just knows the entire way of the Force. She beats Kylo Ren. Kylo Ren is set up as an amazing character. He's so intimidating. And then the helmet comes off, and it's just like, oh, that's him. This young-looking boy with fluffy black hair. It's such a bad unveil, and it just ruins the film. I struggle with it, but it's got Harrison Ford in it. You can't take that for granted. He's great in the film. Visual effects wise, for the most part it's good, but there are some scenes where they use a bit more CGI than I would like, and it's really annoying because they had miniatures but they went over them, which just ruins them. So I really struggle with where to put The Force Awakens. I do like the Lego game that came out of it, but it's just a copy and paste job. It looks great, it's got some cool locations, but it just doesn't do anything original. So, where to put it? I do think it's more enjoyable than episode 2, but I really, really struggle with this one. I think I'm going to put it in C rank, but I'm going to put it above episode 2. I think that's fair. Star Wars The Last Jedi sucks. There's no other way of putting it. I hate this film. I really hate it. Luke is one of my favourite characters of all time. And was it Ryan Johnson just butchered him. He clearly didn't understand the character of Luke. Luke does stuff that he would never do. And Rey learns the entire way of the Force way too quickly. Kylo Ren becomes even more of a joke than he was in the last film. It's just bad. I hate this film, and it's so long and boring and pretentious. And there's an entire scene with what is it, like space horses or something? Doesn't need to be in there. Why is that in there? There's just so much stuff in this film that could be cut. And I wasn't a fan of The Force Awakens, and this film is worse. This film makes The Force Awakens look like a gold standard of what you should do. It's terrible. The one thing I can say about this film is cinematography wise and effects wise, it's really good. But that's it. It's a terrible film. I hate it. And the fact some people were saying this was the new best Star Wars film, I find it absolutely shocking. How on earth could you enjoy this? So, I'm not gonna lie. The Last Jedi, it gets a D. It's I hate it. I absolutely hate it. And it's actually worse than episode 2. If you could even achieve that. There is so much dumb stuff. It completely goes against clear things and continuity pieces that were already set. It's terrible. It's so bad. I'm going to stop ranting about it. I think I've made my point clear, but I really do not like the film. I think it's dreadful. Mark Hamill hated it. He made that quite clear. And rightfully so. It's a terrible film. Now, the final one. The Rise of Skywalker. So I went to the cinema to see all of the sequel trilogy. And I really enjoyed this one when I saw it. My view of it has gone down a bit, and yeah, there are some dumb things like Rey kissing Kylo Ren out of nowhere. I feel like that was just done to appeal to the weird, creepy fans who were doing all their fan art. But overall, there is so much stuff in this film that I like. Palpatine is properly creepy in this, but it does bother me because him dying, it was the perfect end, and it made Anakin, it proved that he really was the chosen one. So where do I put this film? I don't know, I'm struggling. I'm really struggling. I feel like no matter where I put this, I'm gonna get hated. Put it. Rey still bothers me, but there's so much stuff in this film that I like, and I do think it really. I was so happy to see Luke appear in it and actually say stuff. He acted the way I imagined he would act in his older age, and I really. It made me happy to see that in the film. See, you know what? I don't care. I'm putting it in B. I'm gonna do that. I think that's how I'm gonna that's how I'm gonna rank the franchise. It's strange, I know, but that's how I'm doing it. So I imagine I've angered quite a lot of people, because of how high I've put Rise of Skywalker. That is honestly the way I view it, though, and you know, I've the main ones I know where I'd put them are the original three. But yeah, so I don't know. That's how I'd rate them. Don't forget to leave me in the comments. Do you agree with me? Do you drastically disagree? If you do, maybe list how you would put them. I'd very much enjoy to see that. I don't know if anyone will or not. Uh, if you want to see more content like this, just like and maybe say. But that is going to do it for this video. I have very much enjoyed doing this. I'd love to do another one of these. Goodbye.